Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Sports. And the first weekend of the Autumn Nations series is officially complete. We had England or New Zealand as well as Scotland versus Fiji, getting us back underway for the local international for the end of year season, basically. And we're obviously over in Europe, so expect to see some very tough conditions as the Autumn Nations series goes on. Although this weekend wasn't too bad. And the rugby on display was pretty entertaining, if nothing else, with Scotland hammering Fiji by 30 points, whilst England, really lost in the end and had several opportunities to beat New Zealand, but in the end could not get it done. 2-point margin at half-time, a 2-point margin at full-time, a very close game, and a game where England will be absolutely kicking themselves not to have gotten a result of. Before we look at the games, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Right, so if you look at the two results, as I mentioned, that first game, England versus New Zealand, a game where New Zealand scored 3 tries to England's 1, but New Zealand discipline wasn't always as good as it probably should have been, as well as a couple of some of the mistakes that they made, quite uncharacteristic of a All Black side. I think had they been more accurate, I think it could have been quite a comprehensive victory. But I suppose credit to England because they did force a certain amount of mistakes. They did earn themselves enough penalties for Marcus Smith to be pretty solid off the boot. And, not for that last sort of 10-minute period where George Ford, makes a better tackle on Mark today. He doesn't score the winning try potentially. Similarly, for example, George Ford hit the post with that final or late penalty option. There was then, however, a knock-on from that, and then they had a scrum, couldn't quite find a penalty, set up for a drop goal, unfortunately, not the best pass to George Ford, and his drop goal attempt going wide. I tell you, would have watched that game, I'm quite shocked with what they said. That would have been the Springboks, who I think will look at that England pack and think that they can really get stuck into them. I think that, the front row is there for the taking, to be perfectly honest. I do think that the Boks will look at that and think that they can really exploit that. And I think it was quite interesting how the All Blacks did manage to find quite a lot of width at times. And they went to cross kicks, for example, they found space in behind. And with this ever-evolving Springbok side, they'll look at that England side. And I think during the game, I think they would have seen several aspects of that English defence, for example, that they can really look to exploit. For New Zealand, the right result. Performance-wise, maybe a lot of people still might not be wholly convinced with what's going on with Scott Robertson and this All Black side. At times, they look really good, but I just don't think there's that aura, that sort of scare factor, that sort of quality of attack that they traditionally had over the last few years. And I don't think that you compare the Fijian side now to one a year ago. I don't think they're much better, if they are any better, to be perfectly honest. I think that'll be a concern, the fact that they're not progressing this year. So it's a good result for New Zealand, but I don't think it's a performance that they'll be very chuffed with, and they're going to have to be substantially better than that this weekend, I think, if they are to get a result against Ireland. Then it's Scotland versus Fiji, a very characteristic Fiji performance, I suppose, in many ways, in terms of being very, very ill-disciplined, and Scotland having no issue taking them apart at half-time. The game was all but done with 19 points advantage, and Scotland sort of really hammered away. Scotland, we think, very confident. Although Gregor Townsend was very quick to say they need to get substantially better across all departments if they are to compete with the Springboks this weekend. I think this could be quite a good game, actually. I think Scotland on the side, when they turn up, they can give most teams a go. And, Scotland and England are the two bigger games for the Springboks. England probably being the one that they're really focusing on for this sort of Autumn Nation series. But I'm really hoping that Scotland put on a good show on Sunday and that it becomes a tough game for the Boks. Which is funny because as soon as it's a tough game, then everybody sort of assumes that the Boks are playing badly and it's not good enough. But I just want to really see a Scotland side pitch up and give the Boks a go because, and I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion, we will have to play well to beat them, but you want to see a team that has to go into the dark place and has to find, different gears and find a different sort of level and go find inches here and there to win a game. You don't want to be in a situation where, you put a game together quite easily, and because as a Boks fan, I want to see us being tested. I want to see players when the chips are down, who stands up, and look, you're not going to complain if, for example, we go 2-3 tries up quickly because that'll obviously be because we started well, but it would be really nice to have to really earn the victory on Sunday and not, for example, a lot of Scottish individual errors and the likes. So Fiji, I think, very disappointing in terms of where they were last year in the World Cup. Got to the playoffs, they were really competitive, they've got some really nice players. But this weekend were pretty awful, if you're going to be brutally honest. As I said, that the discipline, which has always been an issue for You know, the likes of Fiji, Samoa, you know, a lot of the sort of island teams have always got the talent and the physicality, and they've got very big, good players, but haven't always been able to sort of translate that to being a well-disciplined side, and that sort of seemed to rear its ugly head this past weekend. Something they're definitely going to have to focus a lot on as this Autumn series goes on. So just 2 games. Next weekend we've got far more. So for example, we've got Ireland versus New Zealand on Friday, England versus Australia on Saturday, Italy versus Argentina, France versus Japan, Sunday Wales versus Fiji, and then Scotland versus South Africa to finish things off. All those times, South Africa Standard Time, by the way, if you're looking for the times for the BOK game, 6 o'clock on a Sunday evening. Not ideal from a BOK fan point of view, but after that we go back to being on Saturdays, and pretty prime time there, 20 to 8 for the England game, and the final game against Wales is at also 20 to 8. So let me know what you thought about these 2 games. Over the weekend, as well as what you sort of picked up down in the comments below. Please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.